a game. So this game, Sleeping Queens, there's a lot of different queens in this game. There's the dog queen, the cat queen, the heart queen, and there's this one, the peacock queen. So I thought we would have fun drawing one of my favorite queens from this game. And all you need is a Sharpie and some crayons. So she's got a lot of blue, so you're gonna need a darker blue and maybe a turquoise or a lighter blue. You're gonna need a color for the bottom. You're gonna need 1 or 2 colors for the top. She has black hair, and then her skin is almost a milk chocolate brown. Now, I couldn't find one that was a little bit darker, so I settled for tumbleweed, but use whatever color you have to create her beautiful skin. So we're just a Sharpie and crayons today. Are you guys ready? Okay, let's go. So I'm gonna move this aside, and we're gonna start off by making her beautiful dress. So her dress starts about halfway through the page. If you don't know where that is ever, you can always have your paper touch its toes and just do a little tiny crease to give you an idea of where to start. So you can see there's a little crease here, and I'm gonna start the bottom of her dress. So her dress is pretty much gonna take up this entire bottom of the paper. So I'm gonna start, and it looks just like a hill. So on the left side, I'm going to come down like I'm coming down a hill, and then I'm going to come down the other side like I'm coming down a hill, but this time I might go whoosh right off the paper. But you don't have to do that if you don't want. You can have it centered if you want. The bottom is where we're gonna add the bumps that's gonna look like the feathers. So on the left side here, we're going to go bump, 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 bump. Almost looks like a jellyfish, doesn't it? So while we're down here, we're gonna add the eyes of the peacock. So she has some bigger eyes along the bottom, and then she's got some smaller ones up here in the secondary part of her dress. So down here, we're gonna add an oval in each one of these bumps, and then at the top of the oval, we're gonna add a little tiny curved line. And this little tiny curved line is gonna stay white, and this part here is going to remain, or it's gonna turn dark blue, and then the rest of her dress is turquoise. So go ahead and put an oval in each of these spots, and then add a curved line, oval, curved line, and all the way across the bottom. Okay, now she has 2 layers to her dress. This is the bottom portion, and she has a part that goes up here, and you can see that it's the same color as the body of her dress, and it kind of attaches here. So we're going to make a couple bumps in the same way as we made them down here, but we're gonna make the bumps a little bit smaller, and then it's gonna come up and touch the top, then come back down and bump, bump, bump. So start on the left side, and you're going to go bump, 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 and then come all the way up, touch the top, then come back down and go bump, bump, bump. And once again, we're going to put the ovals in each of these sections. The ovals are going to be a little bit smaller this time, but we're also going to add that curved line right there. Curve, oval, curve, and then over here, oval, curve, oval, curve, oval, curve. Okay, this is the main part of her dress. Now we're going to move up to finish her dress. She has a very, very tiny waist. This is somewhat impossible for us to have, isn't it? But she has this heart shape and then this little tiny heart that joins her body to her dress. So I'm going to leave this space right here, and I'm going to put a finger here just so I have an idea. And I'm going to draw a heart for her body. And then whatever space I have left is where I'm going to connect it with a smaller heart. Just like that. So there is her dress. Isn't that beautiful? So now we're going to do her neck. We're going to leave her arms just for a minute. And on both sides of the top of the bump of the heart, we're going to draw a curved line. Now, sleeping queens, they all have a really, really skinny neck, just like they have a really skinny waist. So this line is going to come up. And when I do this next line, I'm going to come up really close to this neck. So I'm going to come really close to make her have a very, very skinny neck. Now, the sleeping queen faces are all done in a certain way. They all have a very similar shape to them. And you can see, even though this isn't the peacock queen, it has almost a backwards J. It has a curve to it. So that's how we're going to start out her face. We are going to start up here and have a line that's going to come down, touch the neck, and it's going to curve this way. So starting right up here, we're going to come down, curve our line, and then stop. So that is her chin right there. Now, they have a very, very, very pointy nose also. So we're going to do the other side of her face. And when we come down, we're going to come down, come to a point for her nose, and then a little less of a point for her chin, and connect it to this line we already drew. So this line starts up here. So this next line is going to start up here too. It's going to come down. It's going to come to the point for the nose, and then come down and do a little rounded curve to give the chin. Now, the peacock queen's a little funny. Some of the queens don't have their eyes fully attached to their face. Now, if we looked at a picture of a woman standing from the side, we would see this one eye, but we wouldn't see this one because it's on the other side of her face. But the illustrator for this particular game lets you see both eyes, and they just kind of put it right out there in the middle of her hair. So we're going to draw the hair first, and then we're going to put the eyes, one inside her face and one in the middle of her hair. So her hair is kind of fun, and it's got a kind of a loop to it. But in order for us to be able to tell where it's going to connect, we're going to draw her crown first. So we want to leave about a space as big as the marker here, as big as the width. So don't start the crown attaching it right here to these lines. Move it up just a little bit. And we're going to draw a line that is horizontal. So that is the bottom of the crown. For our crown, it's going to come up at an angle, and this side's going to come up as an angle, and we are going to do a couple of U shapes to join these points. So we're going to go U, 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 and there is her little crown. Now, her peacock feathers come out of her crown. I want you to notice something. Do you see how when I drew her crown, how much lower it is on the page? And her crown is almost at the top of the page. Now, this might happen to you sometimes where you draw something too close to the top of the page and you might not feel like you have enough room for her peacock feathers. Well, you know what? At the very end, before we start coloring, we're going to put her peacock feathers in. Some of them might come to the left, some of them might come to the right, and some of them might look like they're going off the page, might look completely different than this one's crown, and that's okay, and that happens even if I'm the same person and I've drawn this more than one time, and every single time she ends up in a different place on the page. Okay, so let's go back to her hair. We have this space here for the crown, and this is where her little curl is going to be. So on the right side of the crown, we're going to start with the curl. We're going to come out to the right and we're going to curl it up in a little curly cue like this. And then we're going to come back around and we're going to, this is when we're going to touch the tops of these lines right here. Just like this. And we're going to stop. We're going to come back and we're going to do the other side of her hair. We're going to come to the other side of the crown. So we started that curl from this side of the crown. Now we're going to come to the other side of the crown. And this time we're going to come down like a hill and we're going to go bump, bump, bump until we get to her face. So start at the left side of the crown, come down, bump, 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 and run right into the face and stop. Now this is half of her hair. We want to put the other half of her hair over here. So we're going to start it right at the curl and we're going to come down and we're also going to bump, bump, bump and run right into her face. We have her hair, so now we're ready to put her eyes on. And her eyes are football shaped. So we're going to draw a little rainbow line, a little smile line, and she's looking this way. So we're going to make a little black pupil looking that way. And we're going to do the same thing for the other eye, but we're going to put it out here in her hair. So same shape, but in the middle of her hair, and make her looking that way. And before we finish here, we're going to give her eyebrows and some lips. So here's her nose. So her lips are going to be in this area, and we're just going to draw a little curved line in and out. Okay, she is missing her arms. So in this particular picture, she has one arm out, and she has one arm that almost looks like it's holding a peacock egg. I think that's what it is. Some of you might know more than I do. You can have her hold whatever you want, but we're going to have her arms still very skinny. This one is straight, and this one you can see the bend of her elbow. And you can notice in the illustration in the game that she doesn't have 5 fingers. So if you want to throw an extra finger into her, into this drawing, I don't blame you. So we're going to start the arms way up here on the sides of this heart. And this first one comes out, and really skinny fingers spread apart her thumb and then come really close to this line because her arms are very skinny, and then attach it. We're going to do the same thing on the other side, but this time we're going to use a bend. So instead of making it this length, we're going to draw an arm part of an arm that's half the length. It's still going to come out of here, but this time we're going to draw a line that's half the length and another parallel line. So there's the other half, but now we're going to bend it. So this line's going to go up, and we'll give her her fingers. And then we'll connect it. Okay, we have our sleeping queen. She is only missing these feathers on her head. So if you have room, you can draw all of yours going straight up. But notice that it's a very similar idea with the middles here with the ovals, except for this time, those little curved lines are at the bottom. Here we drew them on the top. So we're going to draw these shapes, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on mine. You might end up with more or less, just depending on how many you want her to have. But each time we're going to put one of these ovals in, and each time we're going to put one of those curved lines in, but this time at the bottom. So they all come out of her crown. So this one doesn't really have a lot of room. So I'm going to have this bend over this way. It's going to round out and come in like that. Now this one next to it might have gone off the paper, and that's okay to have a few that come off the paper. And this one is also going to come off the paper. And then these other ones are going to start to bend. So I'm going to curve this one around and come back. Here's another one, curve around and come back. And I think I'm going to do one more. Curve around and come back. So I still managed to get those up there. Now we're going to draw our ovals. So here's my oval, and the curved line is going to be on the side of the oval that is facing where it connects to the crown. So for here, it's on the right because mine are curved. It's going to be here on the right again because that's close to where it connects. Here's my oval and my curved line. Now this one, I probably don't see the whole oval, so I'm actually going to draw just a part of it. Put the little curve there. I'm going to do the same thing right here. And I have one more over here. This time this curved line is going to be on the left because that's where it connects to the crown. And there we have it. So the last thing we have to draw is a horizon line. That's what separates the sky from the ground, wherever she's standing. And we are going to draw it not underneath her like this, but we want it to always be slightly above. So you can draw it anywhere, and we're going to stop, skip over her dress, and finish. Now if you want to give her the peacock egg, you can just draw a curved line in her hand, or you might choose to give her something else to hold on to, but we're going to actually put our Sharpie away and we are going to get ready to color. So the first thing I want you to do is get out your darker blue color. And this blue is going to be we're going to press really hard as we color in these ovals. We want this color to be really dark. And the reason we want this to be dark is because we don't have to use a lot of crayons to get different colors in our dress. So these are going to be really dark, but I'm going to use the same crayon for the body of her dress, but I'm not going to press as hard. So we have a lot of ovals to color in. We have 3 sets of them. Press as hard for all of them, whatever blue you're using. And also up here. And we want to make sure that we don't color that little tiny curved line in. We want that to remain white. If you accidentally color over it, don't worry about it. No one's going to notice when you have the rest of them colored. Okay, so same color crayon, but now we're going to color this part and this part. I don't want to press really hard anymore. This time I want to press lighter. Now do you notice how I'm using the same crayon, but it's lighter than what's inside that oval? And see, I colored over the white anyway. So sometimes I do that. I get a little sloppy. And nobody's going to notice when this is all done. Sometimes we might notice, but really it's only because we think we made a mistake, and it's not really a mistake at all. I go over lines all the time. Okay, so this part and then this part right here for the heart. So we're going to color lighter, and then we're going to come back on the left side of the heart and we're going to color darker. And this is adding some shadow. Notice how it's the same color, but now it looks a little different. And we're going to add some of that dark blue on this side as well, on the left for the shadow. So press just a little bit darker. Get that shadow in. Okay, that's it for this crayon, so you can go ahead and put it to the side and get out a turquoise, because that is what the majority of the dress is. And go ahead, color in this whole bottom portion. And then the other, whoops. See, I'm even being sloppy coloring today. So now you know if you go outside the lines that it happens to me too. That's why sometimes it's nice to have really sharp crayons so you can get in those little tiny spaces. So the other part that's turquoise are her feathers. So after we get this bottom portion of her dress colored, we're gonna move up to those feathers on the top of her head that are coming out of her crown. Okay. I'm almost there. I've gotten around all of these peacock eyes. And now I'm going to move up to the feathers on her head. These are a little bit trickier to color because of the dark blue in the littler spaces. And since I decided not to sharpen my crayon, we'll just kind of move this around and see what we can do. Starting to look a lot more like a peacock, isn't she, with these colors? Okay, next up, we're going to get out the black for her hair. And the reason that I chose to color her hair with a black crayon and not a black Sharpie is because when we get over here to her eye, this black crayon is lighter than the Sharpie, so that eyebrow will still stick out. Get her swirl. Okay, and that's it for the black. Now let's get out the yellow, and we're gonna do her crown. Really adds contrast with the yellow and the blue, and also her golden peacock egg. And then lastly, we left this spot empty, and this part goes gold also. So the color carries all the way down. Now go ahead and pick out whatever color brown that you have to color her skin. This is Tumbleweed. Kind of looks like melted chocolate ice cream. Get her arms. Her skinny fingers. And then if you picked out a pink or a red, we're going to do her lips next. And I have a pink. Okay, so she's done. So you can choose how you want to do the background. I'm going to do it like the card. And like the card is, this color is Razzmatazz. It's a kind of a pinkish red, and I'm going to color pretty hard near the top. And then I'm going to get lighter and lighter as I color closer to the bottom. And when I color the background, I like to color really lightly so that my subject, which in this case is the Peacock Queen, so she stands out. So you can see that it's a single crayon, darker and lighter. Okay, last up is the background. So I want her to glow. So I'm going to get my yellow back out, and I'm going to color with my yellow around her body. And I'm not going to color too perfectly. I'm going to leave some white space, but I'm going to color around her just a little bit. Maybe around her hands also. So just around her, and a lot of the Sleeping Queen designs are done this way, where there's almost another color that makes them glow. And then I have an olive green that I'm going to come in with and color the rest of the background. So when I get close to this yellow, I'm not going to let the yellow stop me. I'm going to just go right up next to it, and I'm going to put some of the green on top of the yellow so that they start to blend. And don't be afraid to turn your paper to make it easier to color, because your hands can get really tired, especially when coloring a background. Mine do too. And I'm going to just color it this way, I think, since I have the paper down this way already. There we are. And I'm going to take my olive lastly, and I'm going to color lightly over this yellow. And the reason I'm doing this is I want that yellow to not look too yellow. I want it to look like it's popping through. Okay, that's it, everyone.